Thank you for joining the channel. Today we're going to look at the installation I did of ARB compressor and some additional KC lights. And today I have with me my camera woman and daughter.
Hello.
Now, at the end of this video, we're going to ask you to vote on the logo you like best. There'll be the original TC Adventures logo and a proposed new logo. One of them my daughter did and the other one I did. I'm not going to tell you who did what. Please vote on it in the comments. Now, let's get on with the video. Okay, this is the compressor that I had been using for the CJ7. The CJ7 has on it 33-inch tires. They're only 10.5s. So this compressor actually did a pretty good job. It would get a little hot, but it never cut out. It's designed to stop working if it gets too hot. This is, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, if it's Viair or what, but it's V-I-A-I-R. But it worked okay for the CJ, but then when I got the Wrangler has 35-inch tires, and they're 12.5s. So that compressor was not powerful enough to really efficiently air up these 4 tires. All right, let's take a look at the ARB compressor. Okay, so this is the ARB compressor. I'll put the information up on the screen, but it was $290. It's not the twin compressor. The compressor fits in here, but it's tight. And you can buy a plate by EVO, and I'll put that information on the screen too. It's $64 for the plate. Kind of steep, but it's the only one that I could find out there. So with the EVO plate, it comes with 4 bolts, and those 4 bolts are what attaches the compressor onto the EVO plate. And 2 of those bolts are too long, the ones that are closest to the engine compartment. You have to cut those bolts off in order for them not to be hitting on the brake booster. So that's one thing that you have to do as a modification with the EVO plate that you get. And as other people suggested, the best way to do it is to put the compressor on the EVO plate instead of trying to put the plate in and then put the compressor on top of the plate. There's so little room in here that it would be next to impossible to do it that way. This horn was on a little arm right here. You have to take that off, and then I mounted it on the EVO plate. It can't go back on the bracket that it originally came on because there's not enough room for it. It was a fairly straightforward installation. Probably the most difficult thing about the installation is just getting your hands to everything. There are 2 bolts that go to the brake booster, and the EVO bracket goes around those bolts, and then you have to tighten those bolts back up. So you need a ratchet and an extension really to get to it. But other than that, it's fairly straightforward. The brake fluid canister, this top just barely is able to come off based on the way it's mounted. And the good thing about this compressor is a lot of the component parts of it rotate. So this cylinder here rotates up and down. You can't have it too high or it's going to hit the hood, but you don't want it too low or you're not going to be able to get the brake cap off. The wire harness that comes with the compressor is pretty straightforward, but if you're not using the compressor for lockers, and this is a Rubicon, so it already has lockers, so we don't need a compressor to activate lockers, then you've got some parts of the harness that you don't use, and you can just tie those or you can cut those off. I have a hole in the firewall. I think it already existed, but it may have been put there by somebody who had used it to run some auxiliary lights. So I ran the harness through that hole to get to the rocker switches. Okay, this is a Rugged Ridge A-pillar rocker panel holder. And in order to put it in, I already had this in the Jeep. I had different switches than I have now. And so what you have to do is you have to take off your visor, and that's a torque screw, I had to take off the wild boar hand grip, and that's an Allen wrench. And then, like I said, this on the A-pillar already existed, and it's just held in there by basically being pushed in with a couple plastic tabs. There's also a plastic screw that has to come out from right here. So, like I said, I think this is from Rugged Ridge, and I believe it was $54. It was already in the Jeep, and it had these rocker switches in there. There were 4 of them. So the ARB compressor switch that comes with the ARB compressor is this 3rd switch right here. So I wanted to get these matched, and I found these online. I'll put that information up there. I paid almost $10 for each switch, and they are the similar style of the ARB compressor switch. So I got those to match, and that was a pretty easy installation. I got these from ARB as well. So this is a ARB air gauge, and it was $54. It's a digital gauge. And then the hose was $38. It had a couple of attachments, which I'm not going to be using here. But so the hose is pretty easy to hook up. Right there. Okay, we've got the engine on because we don't want to wear down the battery using the ARB compressor. But so we just switched the rocker switch, and you hear it power up. Now these tires have plenty of air in them, so I don't really need to air them up, and I'm not going to air them down just to air them back up here. But it's a digital display air gauge, and they've got 33 pounds in them right now. I don't want any more air, so I'm not going to put any more air in them right now. But I have used it. I've aired it down and aired it back up, and it is pretty efficient. I think it's only going to take a minute or so per tire, and I don't think I'll have any problems with it overheating like I would with the other air compressor. So it's a pretty nice setup. I like it. It's pretty efficient. It's pretty compact. It was pretty easy to install. Okay, so I mentioned that I replaced all these rocker switches, and I'll put the information where I got them. They were like $10 at the time that I ordered them. I already had a light bar on the front, and I was able to get one that is labeled LED light bar. I'll turn that on right now. Let's take a look at that. That's a KC 10-inch flex light bar. Puts out a lot of light. So the second switch is the rear lights, and that's what I added. I put a couple of KC lights. Each light was $64. They're LED lights, and I'll put that information up on the screen as well. But we'll turn those on. And they're pretty bright. This is very light out. You can still. So the connection for these KC lights is a Dodge connection, and it was pretty easy to wire up. And I really like the lights. It gives you, if you're overlanding, it gives you some light at the back of the Jeep, and then if you are backing up in the trail at night, then you have that light to back up. The ARB installation, I think, was if from a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of difficulty, I would say maybe it's 3. You just need some basic tools to get it installed, and the most difficult part is just getting your hands in there. It's very tight. Getting the EVO plate mounted to the compressor itself is not difficult. Like I said, you have to cut off the ends of 2 of those bolts or get shorter bolts because they're going to get in the way of installation. But other than that, it was a pretty straightforward installation, and I was able to do it myself without paying somebody professionally to get them installed. Switching out the rocker switches wasn't very difficult. I was able to do that wiring myself. And I really like the new KC lights. I'm a fan of the KC lights. I like the ones that are on the front, and I think these are going to be nice when we're either camping or we're out on the trails at night. So all in all, I would say that I'm pleased with both the installation of the ARB compressor and with the additional KC lights. Now is the time to give your vote on the logo. So we have logo A and logo B. She's trying to sway the vote. So let us know in the comments section which logo you like best. Hey, thank you for joining us. I hope this helps you if you're considering putting in a compressor or some new auxiliary lights. Please subscribe. It helps us out a lot. It's free to subscribe, and
give us a thumbs up. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.